I was looking for some eyes because we're going to talk about the single eye. I had something else I was going to talk about today, but this keeps coming to me. You know, I'm studying the Emerald Tablets right now. And so much of the Emerald Tablets and the Bible and the Te Ching and the Veda, all of it come together, and it just is so astounding. But could it be, what if I suggested to you that you live in the most exciting time in the history of humanity? What if I told you that what you're going to witness in this lifetime, the discoveries and the events that you're going to see in your lifetime are more than anybody else on this planet has seen in one lifetime? What if I suggested that to you? And what if I said that could it be in your lifetime there's more evolution taking place than in all the lifetimes you might have had or anybody else might have had in all of time? That evolution is taking place more rapidly in this lifetime than any other time on the planet. What would you think about that? I think it's so true. And one of the real things that is happening right now that's evidence about that, do you know that some children are being born with 3 strands of DNA instead of 2? I mean, there is an upgrade happening to our DNA right now. There's something happening. I wanted to get on another subject, but I keep going back to this one because I feel like it's just so important for us right now. So scientists believe that they've discovered something. How many of you heard this called the God particle? Have you heard about that? And some people think this equipment that have found this is, going to be used by the dark side, but I'm going to tell you what I think what's really happening. It's called this God particle, and it's really something that religion, philosophy, science has looked for thousands and thousands of years, and it's what hooks everything together. And so this God particle is really a nickname for the Higgs boson, and it's a particle that gives mass to matter. What it does is, how does photon light, I'm going to get into this a little bit, create matter? Everything is energy, right? Everything is light. Everything is energy. So how does energy create matter, put mass on matter? And what they think is they found that. And it's one of the biggest instruments on planet Earth, and it's outside of Geneva, Switzerland. It's like, I forget how many, like 300 feet in the ground, and it's like 17 miles wide, and they have this big simulator that created the same instance that the Big Bang came about. They're bouncing these protons. And so they've created this God particle, which is really the essence of what the whole universe is. It's an invisible force throughout the whole universe. And guess what the Bible says? The Bible says that God inhabits eternity. So what does that mean? Spirit, God, is filling the whole universe, everything. And so what this God particle is really they found the divine particle that is really bringing matter and spirit together. It's just so phenomenal. And when it interacts with a particle, when this energy, this force, this God particle interacts with a particle, they're slowed down, and the interaction creates matter. I mean, this is just unbelievable. What we're talking about is where spirit meets matter. How were you created? We can all go back to the Bible study. God came down, Bible stories. God came down in the garden and put the clay together, can't we? But we know that's allegories. We're way past that. Where did we come from? Where are we going as a species? What's your life all about here? We're looking for the big answers. And just this, it was just, I forget, I think it was last year that they found this out. This was like the big announcement last year, this God particle. So scientists are really believe it's a quantum leap in understanding the anti-gravity travel and time travel. This is really something that could give us time travel. How many of you watched movies where they go back into time and it's so neat? Well, that's what they're talking about. Anti-gravity travel, time travel, our universe, and discovering of other universes or parallel universe. You know what I've studied since I've been studying the Emerald Tablets and the Bible and all these things? They say there's 9 realms that are around us right now. 9 dimensions. And what do you see? I don't know about you, but most of us just see one. But there are 9 dimensions. What if this we start having a breakthrough and we begin to see all these other dimensions? And that we could create wormholes. And we could create portals to connection with the unseen dimensions. I've talked about for a few weeks that your eyes and your ears have been tampered with. You don't see hardly anything around you. A dog hears more than you do. You know those whistles you get in the dog store that are high frequency and we don't hear them? Because we have limited vision and limited hearing. But there's something happening right now, and what we can do for ourselves too to turn all that up, to transform that. And that's where we really are coming today. And I believe the Mayan calendar, which I taught for so many years all over, was trying to reveal something to us. And that there's a purpose in the Mayan calendar. You know, the Mayan calendar, they say they were the greatest time counters of any civilization. You know, every day had a spirit, and you knew when to get married, you knew when to build your house, you knew when to start a business, every week, every month. But the long count calendar did something else. It clicked through all the ages. And what it did was it predicted the emergence of a new world. And we've all lived through 2012. And we know so many people do say, oh, it's the end of the world. But what happened was, it was the beginning of a new world. And we were all aligned with the Milky Way, and a new energy was created, and it may not look like it. Just like, remember Y2K? I think that was kind of a precursor to kind of make us think that nothing happened for 2012. Something happened. The energies as we know it will never be the same again. We are being bombarded from every area with higher and higher frequency photon energy that's changing your DNA, that's changing everything in your body, your molecular structure. It's affecting everything in your life. So that Mayan calendar predicted the emergence of a new world. It was the countdown for a dawn of a new age. And you've entered it, and the Bible talked about it. I've said it so many times. Jesus says, go find the guy with the pot, you know, the water pitcher, and follow him to the upper room, which is higher consciousness, and everything's there is going to be prepared for you. Hello, that's the age of Aquarius. He said, I'll be with you till the end of, they always say the world. That's why every religious generation is predicting the end of the world, but that word was not world, it was age. And Jesus will be with us to the end of the Piscean age, that fish that we're looking for the Savior outside of our bodies. But we've come into the age of Pisces, where this age, we're finding out we don't need an outside Savior. We really don't need a guru. We don't need all of this. The treasure is in here. So this Mayan calendar was really a countdown to a new age of humanity. It leads us to the scientific doorway of what's happening today. I mean, exponentially. What happened for thousands of years happens in 10 years, 5 years, 2 years now. And the energies, until after the 9th wave, it was like every 350 days the energy changed. Now the energy is changing every like 12 to 7 days, 7 to 12 days. We are in an energy, can you feel it? I mean, can you feel it? You know nothing is staying the change in here. Everything is really just radically changing. So in the physical world, portals have opened. And science is finding that the energy, the light creates matter. How about that? Light creates matter. Your body was created by a photon energy. And this machine is proving it now. That when we always say the only reason we can see each other is because we are slowed down energy. You know, when Jesus disappeared, what did he do? He just speeded up his energy to disappear. But we are slowed down energy. So photon is creating matter, and we are proving it now. And everything that you see, everything you're looking at right now, the building block of that was light. Light. It's just so phenomenal. Within us, as we know, the whole universe is within us. So I feel the Emerald Tablets, the Bible, the Vedas, the I Ching, all of the things point to the answer that is within us. And that's what I want to talk about today. And I've talked about it before, but I just feel like for some reason I want to talk about it again. When I started studying the Emerald Tablets and Thoth, what I began to see was the similarities between Thoth and Jesus. And I went there last time with the name Jesus. I'm not going to go into that today, but there's a big, big connection between Thoth and Jesus. But what I want to say today is Thoth came carrying two things. He came carrying a cross and a single eye. You've seen the eye that goes, the horse, a single eye. You know, in your brain, that is duplicated. When you open your brain, that eye, that single eye is right there in your brain. When I teach the classes on the Emerald Tablets, I'm going to have some slides on that. But Thoth came carrying a single eye, and he came carrying the cross. And guess what Jesus' symbols were? the cross in a single eye. He said, if your eye be single, what happens? Your body begins to fill with photon energy, and you can transform back into light, is what he said. If your eye be single, your whole body will fill with light. So he began to say the same thing. So both of these avatars, or sons of God, had the symbols of light and the single eye. So it's so profound. So what does it mean for us? The very energy that opened portals, the invisible dimensions, is within you. Do you know we only see, science and all of us only see 4% of the visible universe? 4%. What's out there? What if our eyesight was turned off? And then what did Jesus keep saying? If you have eyes to see, if you have ears to hear. And he was talking to people that could hear and see. But what he was talking about, if we can turn those visions up, if we can tune that ear up to hear the inaudible, the song that Pam created, to see the invisible, hear the inaudible, that's where we're going right now. So he would say that. So we only see 4% of the universe. So just as the Higgs boson discovered the God particle, we too have a God particle in our bodies. We have a light receptor within our bodies. And if we learn how to deal with it, work with it, it's the answer to changing our DNA. It's the answer to turning up our vision, turning up our hearing. It's the answer to filling our whole bodies with light. We too have that God particle, so we can transcend the material existence and connect with our multidimensional existence. You know, Jesus said, seek you first the kingdom. And then everything else is going to be, given to you. What is the kingdom? I believe it's that light particle within us. I believe it's that way to really transcend. He said, in the world, in the physical realm, you're going to have problems. How many of you have no problems? Stand up, please, because I like all the, you can come up and talk and I'll sit down. Because he said, in the physicality, as long as we're connected to all what's going on here, we're going to have tribulations. But he said, be of good cheer. I've overcome it. I have connected to something in a higher dimension that is stable, that is all light, and you can too. And that's where we're really going. I've said this when I was in the church. I said, it said, and greater things will you do? And I said, where are they? Everybody in the church is weak, sick, dying, poor. I mean, where were the greater things? And I started searching then in New Age and metaphysics, and I still didn't see them. Because we've come to the time now where the book is really opening for us, that we're seeing things we've never seen before. So if I ask you this morning, what's God? What first thing that comes to your mind? What is God? Very good, Pam. But I'm going in another direction this morning, but that is good. You're right on. You are God. In the Old Testament, it says God is not a man. So it does say that. And in the New Testament, it says this. This is the message that we've declared to you. God is light. Light. So what is divinity? Photon energy. Photon energy, light. They have found the God particle that creates matter. And who created us? We always say God created us. So it says God is light. Photon energy. In Ephesians it says, we've been in darkness, but in the dawning of this new age, we are to walk as children of light. So not only is God light, but you too can walk as light. But the question is, how do we do this? So we too are to walk as children of light and no longer in the vanity of our mind. So something is happening within us today. We are in the process of our DNA being reactivated to 12 strands. Do you know that we only have 2 strands? Some kids are being born with a third now. But in those 2 strands are the other 12. The other strands are the invisible strands within that. And we're being reactivated to have those 12 strands. How many disciples did Jesus have? 12. How many signs of the zodiac? 12. How many tribes of Israel? 12. I mean, you go to the Emerald Tablets, 12, 12, 12. It's all about you. And it's all about what's inside of us. We really are. I was gonna talk about something else today. We are the mystery. And then I felt like I was more pushed in this. But what is known when we have those 12 strands, it's known as ascension, a process of elevation of our vibration until we resonate with unconditional love. That's what I love about all of even the guys that have been like the truth tellers and everything, they've really gone to the bottom line. Love is the answer to everything. Love is really the answer. It's the energy that's going to heal our planet in every way. So You just see. So until we vibrate at that resonant, unconditional love, and which gets rid of fear-based patterns, and so we can really enjoy our life. And right now we have 2 strands, but the other 10 are not visible because they're layered within the 2 strands that you have. So the returning of the Christ is all about us embodying a new genetic code. That's what it's all. You know, Eckhart talks about the Christification of the world. And that's really, when Christ comes back, it's when you, the Christ in you, comes back. It's not some guy coming in the clouds to rule the world, but it's when we, that genetic code which is changing within us right now, we're seeing it in children, is really begins to change, and we have all of those 12 DNA beyond the limitations of what we really believe. This will be the reality that we reactivate that master gland, that single eye on the pituitary gland, and that's what I want to talk about a little bit today, which will restructure our body and turn us into crystalline beings, which are transcendent death. You know, we talk about, the Bible says that death is a shadow. Yea, though we walk through a shadow. If you're walking on out there today and you have a big shadow behind you, I'd say, well, that's Roger. No, that's not Roger. Here's Roger. That's Roger's shadow. That's not the reality of who Roger is. And that's the same with death. It's not the reality of who we are. That's a shadow that we've been sucked into to believing that that's who we are. But when we turn into that crystalline, we don't have to go through that. You are the light of the world. Christ said, I'm the light of the world. Then he said, now you are the light of the world. To be able to put on those light bodies at will. What if you just wanted to put on a light body? You know, take off this body. He went on to the Mount of Transfiguration. He said, show us the kingdom. He said, come on up to the high mountain with me, which is higher consciousness. And when you come up to the higher consciousness, you turn into light. And that's exactly what we're doing. When we have that marriage of the male and the female, which Kim was really doing this morning with the toning, bringing that male and female together, we have that union in our temple. That's when things are going to really start happening for all of us. So Rene Duchant in the 16th century, he was a philosopher, he said this about the pineal gland. He said it's the seat of the soul. And many of us have read the book, The Seat of the Soul. He believed it was where God meets man in our bodies. And what are we talking about, that machine? Where spirit, or that invisible force, meets matter, meets that particle, slows it down. And that, we have the same thing. What if the Big Bang goes back to what's happening within us? What if that spirit meets in our pineal gland, the spirit and matter meets, the spirit meets the matter of the pineal gland, there's a Big Bang. And could that be what David Wilcox is talking about this, you know, this ascension, some ascension event that's going to happen? Maybe it's going to happen in each one of us individually, or maybe it's going to happen as a collective. But how about that? When that spirit meets that matter, right inside of you, that there's a Big Bang, because everything, we know everything out there in the universe is always a picture of what's happening within us. So it's a seat of the soul. It's where God meets man. So what we have missed so far, how do we reconnect it? How do we really touch it? NASA says that electrons are attracted by protons and vice versa. So angles of light from above can be attracted by the light receptors of our glands, of this pineal gland. So in this is what Thoth, could this be what Thoth and Jesus were trying to tell us about that single eye? If your eye be single, if you can activate your single eye, what if that is the most ancient knowledge on the planet? And it goes back to the Emerald Tablets, which are 36,000 years old. It pops up in the Veda, pops up in the Bible, pops up in the I Ching, pops up in every single religious, spiritual path. But it goes back 36 to 50,000 years. What if that is one of the most important keys to our ascension on the planet today? Activating that pineal gland. And we do all these other things, but what if we really began to study that pineal gland and really begin to do some things to activate that pineal gland? Photon angles of light from above can be attracted as light receptors in that pineal gland. And this is what Thoth was trying to tell us, that the pineal gland is where we can meet our divinity and transform our bodies, where we can reactivate those 12 strands of DNA. We're just beginning to touch on these things. We're just beginning to touch on these things. And I think this God particle is going to blow the roof off of things. The pineal gland is the light receptor of the body. So your light receptor is right here. So science knows that our DNA has been dysfunctional. You know, when your DNA gets back in order, there won't be any more disease. You know, when people are born with different, abnormalities, it's because there's something missing in the DNA that's been functioned with. But what if the DNA was all put back together and there was no more disease? You know, we talk about that. You know, the Bible says there's a time we wipe away every tear and there is no more sorrow, no more disease, no more all of that. But all of it's talking about scientific things that are really happening within us. If we could learn to turn off a certain code, we'd have no disease because we share our bodies with your DNA. So really, this is another thing. We always talk about emotions and thoughts and all of that, but we also share our body with our DNA. We do share our body with our DNA. And DNA is that infrastructure of growth and functions. The DNA tells our cells what to do in our bodies. When you were in the embryo of your mother, the DNA started telling your heart when to start beating on, I think it's the 12th or the 17th day. Your heart started beating. When you eat food, it tells you to digest your food. When you have all your systems in the womb, it instructs where your arms should be on your body, where your legs should be on your body. So the DNA carries instructions. And what that's called in your body is a genetic code. That's that genetic code. And when people's DNA gets screwed up in the genetic code, when they're born with a, half a leg or half an arm, it's because the genetic code has been screwed up. But what we can't see is our genetic code has been screwed up with our hearing, our seeing, and our only having part of our DNA activated. So what is left to us is to reactivate that DNA, reactivate those things that haven't been activated. So it's called our genetic code. Could our DNA, which has been screwed up, what the Bible calls, could that be being born with original sin? I was thinking about that. Sin is missing the mark. It means it's a bullseye. It's like a archery term. And it means you don't get the arrow in the bullseye. So what if original sin was that our DNA was screwed up? And that's just a terminology that they were telling us that our DNA has been screwed up because we missed the mark of our divinity, of perfect DNA, of perfect hearing, perfect sight, and all of those things. I was thinking about that when I was studying that. Could that really be what it's all about? I said that to say all this. Science has found that the pineal gland, the hormone, can change and reset our DNA. Your pineal gland, your light receptor, can change everything about you. The DNA is not the last word in your body. How about that? I have so many people say, my mom had that, my dad had this, but what if there was a light receptor in your body that you could turn that switch on, it would change everything in your body. That would reactivate your cells, reactivate your DNA, put everything back in order again. And I believe we've been equipped for that. The science calls the pineal gland the epiphysis. Guess what it means? Epiphany, enlightenment. Jacob had a dream in the Bible, and there was this ladder that went from heaven to earth, and on this ladder were angels going up and down the ladder, up and down the ladder. Well, hello, what looks like a ladder? Your DNA, doesn't it? Yeah. And guess what happens? When we connect to that DNA, we get these messages, angels, angles of light that come into our being and give us messages from other dimensions. And then he had this activation. He wrestled with a man all night, your own self, inside of yourself. But at the breaking of day, he saw God face to face. When we go inside in the darkness and we wrestle with ourselves to really connect with that inner being of who we are, if we can stick it out until the light breaks through, we see God face to face. And guess what the name of the city was where he was? Peniel, right in the Bible. Look it up. I mean, it's all there for us. All there for us to know that those pineal glands are the key. We close our eyes to the outer light. We activate that invisible light within us, beyond the spectrum that we know. But our pineal gland can see in the darkness an electric magnetic light that can only be seen by the single eye. And that's what it's really talking about. I've said this so many times, that verse when you go into the closet and fact, I wrote it down today because I've never said it. It says, when you pray, enter into your closet, and when you have shut the door, pray to the Father in secret, and the Father which sees in the secret shall reward you openly. What it's talking about is when you go into the darkness of yourself and shut the door on the physicality and commune with the divine self in that pineal gland, and you activate it in that dark place and see that electromagnetic light that isn't visible to the visible eyes, everything you commune with begins to manifest in your life from there. So much bigger than what I ever understood. And in Amos 5 it says, shall not the day of the Lord be darkness? And what it's talking about is just keep going into yourself. When you close your eyes, it's dark. But when you begin to connect with that deeper light, that invisible realm, it changes everything. It changes your DNA. It changes the molecular structure of your body. We're learning things that science is just catching up to. We're learning things that can change everything and all of us. And it's so exciting. So everything is within us. Some doctors say, now listen, Pam's going to love this. They say when our DNA is connected, we're going to live from 200 to 300 years. People die at 80. They shouldn't. It's not right. We say, oh, they got old. Bye-bye. And that's what the new Obama, I'm not supposed to talk about politics, but a lot of the medical plans say that today, too. You know, you get to be a certain age, they go put you on a boat and float you out to, out in the ocean. But how about our DNA being corrected? And we live, why did they live 900,000 years before the flood? Why did they do that? Because there's a big answer to that. I'm not going to get into it, but there's a big answer to that, but it's because of the DNA too. But I believe there were other beings here on the earth, but they were pointing us to something. The Hubble is a picture of that single eye. How many of you saw the nebulae? I had a picture of it that was in the early 2000s, and it looked like a single eye. Just about around the dawning of the age of Aquarius, here was this single-eyed glass nebula in the sky that the Hubble picture got. It looks just like the single eye. What a message to humanity. And all of these things are coming in crop circles too, so much of this stuff. So there's mail in your mailbox. I said all this to say this. There's mail in your mailbox. But you got to get it. You're the only one that can get it. I can't go to Pam's mailbox and get her mail. You can't come to mine and get my mail. But you can go to your mailbox and get your mail, and it's waiting there for you. When you activate that pineal gland, when you really begin to do the things that activates that pineal gland. And the key is only you can pick it up. And what I wanted to do today, I'm going to do a short meditation with your pineal gland. But I wanted just to say a couple of things. I think I've wrote a couple of things. What we did this morning, why I had Kim do that this morning, that's an activation of the pineal gland. When you do that toning, that vibration activates your pineal gland. Chanting activates your pineal gland. Meditation is one of the best ways to activate. There's certain foods that stimulate it. Yoga, meditation, so many things that, why do you think meditation is so prominent right now coming, to the West? Because it's opening up the energy system of your body, bringing that kundalini and opening up that third eye. Get involved in some of the things that open your pineal gland. What if it was the most important thing you could do? We can read all the books, we can do all the things, but until we really, and I've told everybody what I do. I go to that beach every morning. I meditate. I lay in the sand. I lay behind the bandstand. Always somebody comes by and goes, I want to go. They probably think I'm crazy, but I don't care. It's laying on the earth, laying in that sand, connecting with the frequency of Mother Earth, looking up at the clouds, the sky. You begin to see past all the illusions. The most important thing you can do is activate your pineal gland to change your life. So close your eyes right now, and I just want to do a little meditation with you that I found that kind of activates. Can somebody turn off the lights back there, Kathleen? Let's just relax. Put both feet on the floor right now. Just close your eyes and relax. And then take your pointer finger and just place it gently on your pineal gland right now. First, let's just take a breath. Take a breath and release it. Take another breath and release it. Just really relax. Take one more breath and release it. Now, just between your eyebrows, just gently circle your finger around clockwise and massage gently for about 30 seconds that pineal gland. With your eyes still closed, take your finger down and away. Notice if you still feel a swirling effect in the area without touching it. Sit real quietly and see if you can feel that. Just observe when you feel that swirling effect inside your head. Just observe that swirling energy. And then tilt your eyeballs upward towards your pineal gland, like a 20 degree. And see if you can intensify, by putting your eyeballs up, see if you can intensify the swirling of that pineal gland. Now breathe in your nose as you do. And as you breathe in this next breath, feel the energy rise up from the soles of your feet. Just take a breath and feel that energy begin to rise up from the soles of your feet, upward into your calves, moving into your legs, your groin, your hips, your torso. Feel it move up your spine, into your throat, into your head, and feel it just meet right there at your pineal gland and just begin to swirl. As you exhale, just feel the energy greatly intensifying your power. Feel it strengthening and pulsating and making your pineal gland just grow in power. Just visualize that. And all that energy that you've brought up is just pulsating, activating, making your pineal gland glow with real powerful power. We're just going to sit for a moment and just feel that power. Put all your attention right onto your pineal gland. Okay, you can open your eyes now. How many of you could feel that? The more you do that, you can do it before bed, do it in the morning. The more you put attention on your pineal gland, the more you set your attention to that and you activate it, the more you're going to feel that intensify. I saw a man that had a stroke. I was going to tell Mark about this, and he just kept talking to the cells of his body and putting the intensity and telling them to work. You know, we don't realize the power we have in our own bodies. We're just now tapping into that. But put your attention on that pineal gland and start activating it. When you're laying on the ground, when you're meditating, just really know it's one of the secrets. It's over 36,000 years old. It's really going to change our life in this time. It seems simple and people talk about the pineal gland, but I wanted to bring it back up today. Both taught and Jesus and many of the other, Horus, the eye of Horus, it's in your brain. I'm going to show you a picture that eye of Horus is in your brain. It's pictured within you. It's the key to the kingdom of light. It's the key that's going to take us on the journey back to having power over our bodies and really be able to put on our light bodies. So I just honor all of you because each one of you has that eye, that single eye within you. It's pictured in your brain, but it's right here. It can activate, rearrange, change your very DNA. How come these kids are getting 3 strands? Why can't we start seeing our strands splitting until we get those 12 strands back of DNA that we too can be Christed It's all about us, the Christification of the earth. The whole earth is groaning for you and I to realize who we are and that the power is within us. And so it is.